Throughout this work, you'll hear us use the term scaffolded social learning. And the idea is this: we all learn socially anyway. We learn from each other. But when we're designing learning, we want to bring a slightly more formal element to it. And we call that a scaffolding. And the scaffolding is the structure around the learning. So scaffolding doesn't give you the answers. It holds open a series of spaces for learners to think within. So when we talk about designing scaffolded social learning, we're talking about an approach to learning design where we will consciously create those spaces. And into each of those spaces, we can put in different pieces of work. We can provide learners with different assets like videos or reading or podcasts. But we can also, within the learning design, encourage them to have specific types of conversations or to think about these new ideas in specific ways. So the scaffolding is the learning design, and you can think of it most easily as creating a series of spaces that individuals and groups of people will work together within. If we think about how a lot of learning used to be done, it was very formal. And when I say formal learning, I mean a story that was often written by the organisation and then given to us to learn. When we talk about social learning, we're talking about the wisdom of a community itself, a community of practitioners. When we develop a scaffolded social learning approach, we try to bring both of those together. So we still use some parts of formal learning. We may still create some assets or write part of the story ourselves. But we'll also use these collaborative spaces. We can call them co-creative spaces, where the community will write some of the story as well. So a scaffolded social learning experience is a co-created story with some pieces of formal learning and some spaces for social learning to occur. If we think about an example of when we might use scaffolded social learning, we could think about a time that we would be training somebody to do something in a particular context, perhaps in a new country or a new region for the first time. Within the formal learning, there may be some set processes that they need to follow, or some specific knowledge that they need to have. And we can bring that into the scaffolded social learning experience. But around that, in the collaborative part of the learning, we can bring in local knowledge, that lived experience that people have earned from being on the ground. So within the learning, there's space for the formal knowledge, which will be given to us and may be written centrally, but there's also space for us to bring in that local lived experience from the people who are taking part in the learning. And there's a difference between those two. The formal knowledge is often very clear and very tidy, but the social knowledge may differ. People will have different experiences. They'll have different ideas of what is right and what is wrong. So as we bring that together for people in a scaffolded social learning space, we're giving them a community to learn within. And that community can help them to make sense of all these different sources of information that they're hearing.